One valley, two sides, two stories. A cross-cultural examination of the Rio Grande's headwaters from the eastern and western slopes of the San Luis Valley. We begin in Crestone, Colorado, a small and eccentric town nestled in the heart of the dramatic Sangre de Cristo Mountains on the eastern side of the San Luis Valley, which is in the Rio Grande National Forest. Crestone was founded as part of the Luis Maria de Baca Land Grant No. 4 in 1860, which granted 100,000 acres of land surrounding Crestone to the Baca family from the United States as part of an older treaty with King Ferdinand VII of Spain. Today, Crestone is known for being a religious and spiritual hub, and its residents are far from ordinary. In order to help me understand the cultural relationship to water in this town, I decided to stay with a typical Crestone local, Zuki, a 54-year-old holistic midwife who also identified as an energetic healer, a gray witch, and an alternative being from another dimension. Zuki's earthen home, which she referred to as her earthship, held many adaptations that can be seen across homes in Crestone to better adapt the harsh environment and incorporate sustainability into her lifestyle.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be off-grid.
Yeah.
My entire life.
Me too.
So I created, this is the gravity-fed, the sink waters from the rain. It comes in from over here, I can show you, off the roof. And comes in through that little copper pipe. And it's I don't drink it, but I wash my hands with it. It doesn't smell. I haven't conditioned it.
It's just water.
I think I put water conditioner in it and iodine.
It was Zuki's friend Roberta, a former hardcore Tibetan Buddhist monk and longtime resident of the San Luis Valley, who introduced me to the term querencia. She told me that querencia loosely translates to a love for the land, or a deep longing to remain on one's land. She told me how she doesn't really think Crestone residents understand the meaning of querencia and what it truly means to care for one's watershed and ecosystem, describing how the New Age spiritualism that encompasses Crestone permits residents to be a bit two-sided and say one thing but act differently. She told me how people don't really have roots here and how the population is quite transient. I decided to explore Crestone's watershed and ecology for myself, setting off on a day hike up to Willow Lake, a high alpine lake that eventually drains back into the San Luis Valley and the larger Rio Grande watershed. I thought about where this water will go, who it might touch, feed, support, and where it will end up. We continue our journey, crossing the valley to the western slope and visiting the town of Del Norte, Colorado, which lies just below the San Juan Mountains. The view out my window is quite different. Where there were temples and shrines in Crestone, there are hay bales and cattle here. Del Norte shares a history with many other small towns in the west. What began as a mining boom now holds a smaller population of dedicated farmers and ranchers. However, what makes Del Norte different is that it sits right at the headwaters of the Rio Grande. The river gives the town its namesake, historically being named Rio del Norte, or River of the North. But the pronunciation of the town was changed in an attempt to eradicate Spanish language and heritage as more white settlers moved in.
I don't think they should be piping it to the front range.
Okay.
That's what the plan was. Developers wanted to take the water from here and ship it to Castle Rock.
Yeah.
So that they could build more houses.
Oh. All those cookie cutter housing complexes are getting this water.
Yeah, that's what they want.
Wow, okay.
Big fight against it. I'm also against the big development up on Wolf Creek.
Wolf Creek Pass.
Build a town up there of 10,000 people.
Oh.
It's have you ever been there in the winter, you would not want to build a house there.
As I drove into town, I noticed ditches and small streams framing every piece of property. acequias. The map on my car's GPS even had all these small streams marked, some listing the names of the people that the land and water once belonged to. Acequias are community-created irrigation systems that move the water across the arid landscape. The acequias I saw in Del Norte have existed since the time of Spanish colonization and are still the main source of irrigation today. As I drove farther into town, I gasped and slammed on my brakes as I realized I was crossing the Rio Grande. It was so easy for me to cross the water at this specific geographic location, but crossing the same water much further downstream is a different challenge altogether. I watched it all flow down as the thunderheads broke above me and it began to rain. 2 towns, 2 slopes, 1 valley, 1 watershed. And it all just keeps on flowing.
That was beautiful. Thank you so
That's
much.
an Irish tune called The Road to Lisdoon Barna.
Oh.
It took me almost long to pronounce Lisdoon Barna.
I don't know if I could say that myself. That's a beautiful song though. How long have you been playing fiddle?
20 years now.
Wow. That's
I've
awesome.
been teaching myself.
Wow. I play a little banjo and guitar myself. I'm more in bluegrass, but you know.
Alright, sure.
Yeah.
I thought about buying a quarter-sized violin.
Yeah?
Just so I could say, yeah, I play a little violin.
I like that one. Maybe I'll get myself a mini guitar so I can say that. Well, thank you so much, Johnny. I
You're welcome.
appreciate
I hope
it.
the documentary comes
Thanks.
out good.